Group B, Iran nil, United States 1. How are we feeling tonight, US fans? Were you on the edge of your seat like I was? I'm sure many across the nation were. Very cagey and intense all the way until the final whistle. So where to start? Let's start with Iran. Iran didn't really generate a single dangerous chance in the first 45 minutes of this match. And that was because they couldn't transition through our midfield pressure while still having enough numbers for a real chance. And really, the stats speak for themselves. By the conclusion of this game, Iran had 4 shots, just 1 registered on target. The USA had 12, so 3 times the amount, 5 on target, 5 times the amount. But when you look at the possession, it's very interesting because we basically split it with the Iranians. 51% for the US to 49% for Iran. So it wasn't like this was a particularly one-sided game in terms of the on-the-field play, because in the second half, Iran were exceptionally dangerous whenever they won the ball back and when the US started to sit in deep and was really trying to hold on to the 1-0 lead that we had taken at the end of the first half. The tension was broken when we went ahead before the stroke of halftime, and I feel like we really needed a goal before heading into the half all square, because I thought that for the most part in the first half, Iran was doing a very effective job of closing down space, nicking out those passes that we were making in tight areas of the pitch, and they were basically having us depend on really poorly taken crosses into the box in order to find anyone on the receiving end of it. And I was watching the first 30, 35 minutes of it, and I was thinking the whole time, these guys are just a tough nut to crack. Having said that, I was a little bit surprised by the fact that Iran approached this game in a very conservative manner, because even though they needed a draw from this match, we saw what they did in their last 2 matches against both England and Wales. They're quite potent whenever they go on the break, and they're one of the best counter-attacking sides from Asia, and I thought that was an area they'd be able to really punish the U.S. in, and they certainly gave us a headache in the second half with that, but I thought it was going to come much earlier in the game, and Kirosh did not really make that tactical adjustment, I feel, until they had already went behind, which was just big mistake. Big mistake. You should have approached it that way from the very beginning of the match. But boy, oh boy, they made life difficult. You look at the chance that Godos had midway through the second half. He looks like he tries to curl that in, and it looks like if he had just leveled it a little bit better, that might have been in the back of the net and had Matt Turner beaten. And then the free kick that Iran had in stoppage time, where it was headed wide, I was really nervous for a moment that was going to be poked into the back of the net. And it was very similar to the dying stages of the match the USA had with England when we saw Harry Kane get on the receiving end of a well-timed cross from a free kick. And the US was basically bailed out of jail because both, just like in that game, in this game here today, both were off target and just handled it a little bit better. I think we concede. I think we concede late on to England. I think we concede late on to here. So the U.S. a little bit fortunate at the end, as scrappy as it was, to not leak in a goal. But I got to give the boys credit. Unlike the match against Wales, they knew heading into the break they had to hold on to this lead, and they did it. They came through. They didn't bottle the advantage, and the goal itself that we scored, I loved the sequence play building up to that. I loved the assist by Sergiño Dest, the way he heads that down for Pulisic to volley, had Ali Reza Byron Van beat, and it looked like our precious Christian took a knocking because he was down, and he was down bad. Pelvic contusion, had to be taken to the hospital. Captain America coming up big, though, scoring the most important goal of his U.S. men's national team career. He will feel it was worth it. I don't know if he's going to be fit for Sunday against the Netherlands, but we shall see in due time. But He literally put his body on the line for that goal, and that's a very quintessential American goal. And we almost had a second one. We almost had a second one on the breakaway when Weah slotted that in, hit off the post. It looked like he was a fraction onside, but upon further review, apparently the refs felt that he was marginally off. I've watched many replays of that, guys, and I gotta tell you, I could understand either way. I'm not gonna be biased here. I honestly don't know how I would call that. I could see any ref giving that, any other ref chalking it off. But I think overall, Lajos, the referee, the Spanish referee, I think he had a good game. He didn't let either side get away with needless fouls, and as well as the time wasting when we had considerable amounts of minutes added on at the end of both halves. I think he officiated overall a generally fair and evenly balanced match. It felt like the U.S. had opportunities to put this game away, but I feel like Josh Sargent up front, his final touches on a lot of the balls that were delivered were just poor. His passes back to both Pulisic and Weah were just off. The U.S. started to look a little bit sloppy going forward as the game went on whenever we did have chances, but it felt that as Iran grew into the game, they were just intercepting us in the midfield, and it became a matter of us just being completely unable to hold on to possession. And there was a good spell of 15 to 20 minutes, the last 15 to 20 minutes, of the match where we just kept giving the ball away so easily. And especially that spell of from the 85th minute, I would say, up until the final whistle, so that 5 minutes plus the 9 minutes of added time, where Iran were just on our case, and we were just trying to cling on to this result. I do have something to say. I'm not an irrational Greg Berhalter hater, but I have to say some things about the substitutions. I don't agree with Haji Wright coming in and Shaquille Moore. The thing is, the subs were somewhat of an issue. Clearly, the point is that so we can close out games late after a really productive first hour or so of the match, but that doesn't always work. The starting lineup, good. I liked what I saw with Cameron Carter-Vickers. I thought he was very physical on the ball. He used his body to deny the Iranian players from getting in through the box and having clear chances on goal. He did that without fouling. I thought he was really good. A good substitution for Walker Zimmerman. In the starting lineup, I meant. And then Zimmerman came on later on towards the end of the game. But I thought Cameron Carter-Vickers was good. I was really skeptical of CCV, but I think there was a good call by Greg. So I'll give Greg some praise for that. Giving CCV the chance to prove himself in a crucial match like this. And he came up big. He did come up big. So the lineup selections, for the most part, I have no problem with. The U.S. were playing really well. But the game after halftime was very much so lacking. I need to know what Haji Wright was thinking the entire time he was on the field, because there were moments where she showed not particularly any energy or urgency to gain possession, and there was that scene right at the end when the U.S. had the ball, we were running down the field, and instead of taking the ball to the corner flag, which is what you do when you want to eat the clock away, he shot it right towards Byron Van. And I was like, bro, you're giving the ball back to Iran. Now they have a chance now they have the ball back. Now they have a chance to put number forward and try and get another chance to go on and try to find the equalizer. You want to take that to the corner flag, eat away as much seconds as you can in a situation like that. But look, you can't take too much away because it's inexperience. It's inexperience. It's also nerves, I think. Same thing with Shaquille Moore. I did not like a lot of his headed clearances. We saw how Matt Turner was basically yelling at him when Iran crossed a long ball into the box, and it looked like it was going to go out, and Matt Turner was screaming at Shaquille Moore to just let it go, but he got a touch on it anyway. Maybe you give a little bit of a pass because there is a bit of nerviness, of course. But the thing is, they can still prove costly because you never know. Players have to have smart in-game decisions to close out games like this. You can't let your nerves get the best of you. In terms of positions on the pitch, Zimmerman, Ream, CCV, I think are great center backs. I think we have virtually very little issues defensively, and that's not my concern going forward. My concern is Greg's substitutions. My concern is the relationship between him and Gio Reyna, because we still have some cloudiness there regarding exactly what's going on, if there's personal beef, if Reyna is not fully fit, if he doesn't trust Reyna fully. So that's a little bit of a bad vibe there. I think in a very technical sense, Brendan Aronson is one of our most gifted players that the U.S. has going forward. He offered some very much so needed pace on that wing, leveling dribbling ability. And honestly, Tyler Adams, I'll praise Greg here. Making Tyler Adams captain, good decision. He's really come into his own these last 3 games. And he's able to drop back when he needs to help out the defense. He's a very versatile pitcher. He's a very versatile player on the pitch. See, I combine the 2 words. I do that when I'm talking fast. But, yeah. And I also feel that Anthony Robinson, man, you're a real MVP. He came up in this match as well. I feel like Robinson is good except when he has the ball at his feet and some of his passes back are a little bit poor at times. It could be a little bit suspect. Iran was applying some pressure on him, but I think he handled it pretty much well. But he's still one of our best players. Even though he did have one major mishap today. But otherwise, he's a quality defender, I think, for the U.S. We did it. We got out of this group. It wasn't easy. We fought hard. USA advanced to the round of 16. This is our 5th knockout stage appearance since 1994, our 6th knockout stage appearance overall. We play the Netherlands on Saturday. We got our first victory away from home in the year 2022. Sorely needed. It was either do or die, win or go home. We got there in the end. And there are concerns of how we looked in the second half. You have to think we might be punished by a team that's more clinical, have more offensive firepower. And and Greg is still somewhat of a liability with his substitutions, but defensively, been very good. 1 goal conceded in 3 games. That was from a penalty. Arguably could have won all 3 games, arguably could have had 9 points, arguably could have had 3 clean sheets. I still think our finishing is a little bit suspect. But celebrate this moment, American fans, because the team worked hard today. We made a statement coming out of this very difficult group, and sky's the limit. Let's fucking go.